Hi, Britta Brewer here with GenGenies.org, an investigative genetic genealogy firm. And boy, did my two professional worlds collide last week. My husband and I, we've been in the group health insurance industry for 20 years and contracted with United Healthcare for all 20. So with the news of Brian Thompson, one of their CEOs' assassination last week, it pretty much rocked our industry. Of course, my phone was blowing up with all the news articles, but what I didn't expect was for that world to trickle over into the other world I participate in, which is Forensic Investigative Genetic Genealogy. Some people call it FIG, I call it IGG, and the nonprofit I run there. And they said, well, they have the water bottle at Starbucks or whatever they said, and can't you take that DNA and figure it out now with whatever you do? And I said, well, yeah, technically, but then I kind of went through my head just thinking, oh, wow, there's a lot of steps in between. So for my friends in the insurance industry, I said that I would make them a video and I might as well share it with everybody I know, if you want to listen. All right, so there's a lot of ifs for IGG to work. One, they need to be able to pull a viable sample off of the water bottle that they found in the trash can. Now, there could be mixtures in there and contaminations that the lab has to work with, but they can overcome that, and they are shooting for what's called an STR profile. According to the Department of Justice, for IGG to be practiced, they recommend that they pull an STR profile first in order to upload it to the second step, which is CODIS. CODIS is a federal DNA database for felons. If the person has a felony and their DNA has been chosen, then they will be in there and there will be a hit. If they are not, they don't have the guy quite yet. So they also have a second step in CODIS now called familial searching. They can actually look for any close relatives that would help identify the unknown DNA left at the scene. That is a second thing that they could do. Now, IGG kind of comes in when there are quote unquote no hits in CODIS. And that's where the IGG portion begins. It actually does not start with the practitioner. It's got to go back to a lab. So if there is remaining sample left over or available, they will now send it to most likely a private lab. Because the crime occurred in New York, it's got to be an accredited lab, which I'm sure they already have set up. The cost of this is between $2,000 to $7,000, depending on the sample size, condition, and what needs to occur to the sample. The objective of sending it to this private lab is to do SNP testing. So SNP testing is what is required for genealogical websites. And so that is what they're shooting for at these private labs. So once they obtain a SNP profile, they give the sample over, or the results of the samples SNP testing, to what we call bioinformaticists. And they are going to take the language of the lab that the profile's in, change it into the language of the genealogical websites from which we work. There are only 3 that are accessible to law enforcement. They are not Ancestry, 23andMe, and MyHeritage. They are GEDmatch Pro, Family Tree DNA, and DNAjustice.org. There are upload fees for samples. To GEDmatch Pro is $1,000, Family Tree DNA is $1,400. DNAjustice.org is a nonprofit that allows law enforcement to use their database for no cost. Now, anybody can upload, if you want to, upload any of your consumer, direct-to-consumer DNA test results up to these 3 websites. It is an opt-in, volunteer-based database. And you can upload any of your information for no fee to all 3 of them. The more people that we have to compare to, the better the results of solving for the unknown DNA sample. Okay, so once it gets to these websites, whichever one they've chosen to upload to and pay for, the IGG practitioner is now going to step in At these websites, it creates match lists, similar to if you were to go to Ancestry and you see all of your new relatives, right? So we are going to analyze the match lists that are produced. And what we're shooting for is to triangulate matches. So if there's two people that match each other, and we've got the unknown DNA suspect over here, they match each other, okay? That means they both match the suspect. We are going to do genealogical research to see who they come from and from what common ancestors these two share in common. Theoretically, who they share, the suspect shares as well. There's a couple things that could get in our way. 3 of them being endogamy, perhaps non-paternal events, or just a lack of matches or a lack of strong matches. So those 3 make it so that IGG is possible, but it's not like a sure shoe-in for a solve. So we do our best, and to overcome those barriers, let's say we're now going to do what's called descendancy research. So from that common ancestor that they share, we're going to build down the descendants from there. And if we find a person, in this case, a male between the ages of maybe 20 to 35, fair skin and brown hair, and he fits the ethnicity and the age, we are going to turn that over to law enforcement. Our findings are only an investigative lead. This is not a solve. A solve comes when we've handed it over as a lead, and then law enforcement has made a direct DNA connection between the unknown DNA sample directly to that person, or a very close family member of that person. That would be more of a solid confirmation, and we could claim a solve on that, or that we helped assist in a solve. So that's everything that it would take in order for IGG to come in and help with this case. It's a lot to line up. So we're just gonna remain patient, hope that law enforcement, gets everything that they need in order to get the job done. We are praying for peace for Brian's family and his children, for our UHC family members. And that's how the whole system pretty much goes. It varies from law enforcement agency. And so it's not set in stone, but that's kind of the framework of it. We are a nonprofit investigative genetic genealogy firm. If you feel like donating, please go to GenGenies.org/donations, and because we help fund those lab and upload fees for underrepresented communities, families, and investigating agencies. We would love your help. Take care. Have a great day.